Max Verstappen sends warning to rivals after more potential in the RB20 discovered. Mercedes claims it's ready to fight more consistently at the front, and George says he's ready to mentor Kimi to be the next Mercedes driver. Do consider subscribing. Now let's get straight into the latest F1 news. Max Verstappen has cautioned the competitors of Red Bull that significant improvements can be achieved with the RB20 once the team resolves their issues with riding the curbs. Despite the team's dominance and championship double in the previous year, their rivals are now closely competing with them this season. McLaren has once again effectively implemented their updates during the season, securing a victory in Miami. Lando Norris also challenged Verstappen in Imola, while Ferrari has claimed victories in Australia and Monaco. During the Monaco Grand Prix weekend, Charles Leclerc secured a win while Red Bull struggled with the curbs and bumps at the street circuit, resulting in Verstappen finishing in 6th place. Verstappen mentioned that Red Bull has been exposed by a problem they have been facing since the start of the F1 2022 season, which introduced ground-effect aerodynamic cars. It is known that the RB20 relies on a stiff suspension to generate downforce, and softening the suspension settings leads to a loss of downforce. Red Bull is working on a solution to this issue, which Verstappen believes will lead to significant performance improvements once implemented. Verstappen stated, "We're struggling a lot with the curbing and the bumps. So we definitely have an area we can work on and definitely improve the car by quite a big margin if we get that under control. I really think that we can solve this without influencing any other part of the car. We know that this is a weakness, and I also know that we are flat out working on it to try and fix it, because I really feel like it's quite a big performance limitation for us at the moment." Team principal Christian Horner revealed that Red Bull has already made progress in Montreal, where the RB20 performed well even when riding the curbs. Horner said, "All of it has to work in tandem, so you are pushing the aerodynamic platform of the car, but you want the car to ride curbs." What was encouraging was that our Sector 3 this weekend was competitive, even with the stiffness of the car rattling over that last chicane. If you look throughout the running, we were very competitive there. So, despite it being uncomfortable, we were still able to be quick enough. I think there is genuine performance there, so if we can unlock that, then we will see it free up lap time. Despite facing challenges, Verstappen secured victory at the Canadian Grand Prix, extending his lead in the Drivers' Championship to 56 points ahead of Charles Leclerc. This win marked his 6th victory of this season. Toto Wolff believes Mercedes have found the missing piece in the jigsaw puzzle to unlock the W15's pace. Put it in, and now it's fine. Putting an all-new car on the track, Mercedes reconfigured the side pod shape, moved the cockpit position back, and introduced a push-rod rear suspension to replace last year's pull rod, to name just some of the notable changes. But while the drivers spoke of a real race car during preseason testing, they were off the pace of the leading Red Bull in the opening rounds of the season, also falling behind Ferrari and McLaren. The team revealed correlation issues between the factory and the track, with Wolff saying they had found more downforce, but that it wasn't showing in the lap times. Of late, though, there's a notable upswing in Mercedes' performance. Bolting a new front wing onto the W15 at the Monaco Grand Prix, Sky's Craig Slater reckons it was a eureka moment for the F1 team in terms of flexi front wings. George Russell clinched Mercedes' first Grand Prix podium of this season at Sunday's Canadian Grand Prix, a race where Lewis Hamilton was 4th, which was also his best result. Wolff puts it down to finding that missing piece of the puzzle. "There's no such thing as the silver bullet in Formula One," said the Mercedes team principal, and therefore it was constant work of understanding what was wrong. I know that everybody got tired by this answer, but you can't reverse engineer the performance of the cars. We're looking at Red Bull, and this is what we want our car to look. You really need to work your way through the problems. It didn't seem to correlate between the tunnel and the track, and the car was difficult to drive, the ride was not good, the bouncing or bottoming coming back. And then we had a clear indication of what we were missing in the jigsaw. We put the piece in, and I think now it's fine." Hamilton spoke of the improved ride quality in the build-up to the Canadian Grand Prix, with the 7-time world champion believing that had Mercedes' biggest improvement this year. "The biggest improvement, I think, coming into this year has been ride quality and being able to get the car lower, which is what others have been able to do," he said. And then stability on entry of corners. The car is far more predictable than it ever was, particularly the last couple of years, and particularly this year it's a lot more stable, so we can be more committed into the corners. But then through corner balance is where we've been lacking, where some of the others have really taken a big step. So that's what we're trying to work on. Williams team principal James Vowles was delighted in Canada after McLaren boss Andrea Stella discussed the positive attributes that Carlos Sainz could bring to an F1 team. Carlos Sainz is still without a seat for the F1 2025 season. He found out in the winter that he will be replaced by Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari at the end of this year. Sainz performed exceptionally well at the beginning of the F1 2024 season, winning the Australian Grand Prix. However, his chances of securing a top seat for F1 2025 have diminished in recent weeks. Before the Monaco Grand Prix, it was revealed that Sainz was no longer being considered by Mercedes. Instead, they are prepared to promote 17-year-old Andrea Kimi Antonelli as Hamilton's successor if they are unable to sign Max Verstappen. It seems that Sainz has also missed out on a Red Bull seat, as the team confirmed a new 2-year contract for Sergio Perez before the Canadian Grand Prix last weekend. Sainz's options appear to be between Williams and Audi. Audi is set to take over the existing Sauber team when the German manufacturer joins the grid in F1 2026. Despite being linked with Audi, Sainz is believed to be leaning towards Williams. Vowles openly expressed his desire to sign the outgoing Ferrari star. An announcement regarding Sainz's decision is speculated to be made ahead of his home race in Barcelona next weekend. Vowles continued to speak highly of Sainz in Montreal. He described Sainz as an exceptional driver and emphasized that any team would be privileged to have him. Stella, who worked with Sainz for 2 seasons, highlighted Sainz's intelligence and communication skills. Stella stated that Sainz is a very rational driver who carefully plans the fastest way in a lap and during races. His rationality and clear communication make him an asset for the team. When asked about Stella's comments, Vowles replied, "Sounds excellent, doesn't it? Yes." Vowles' recent comments come after he stated that joining Williams should be an easy decision for Sainz, highlighting the team's renewed ambition following his appointment as team principal in early 2023. He explained that Williams has evolved from what it was 3 years ago and is now actively pursuing top talent. He emphasized the team's investment, the upcoming high-performance power unit in 2026, and the recruitment of top talent from other teams. Vowles emphasized that Sainz has the freedom to choose whether to join Williams or not. When asked if he feels that Sainz is convinced by Williams' proposal, Vowles replied, "It's hard to tell. I think he can see all the strengths. I think it's easy for me to say because I'm Williams and I wear the shirt, but I think it's an easy decision to come here. But it has to be his to make." Should the pair end up as Mercedes teammates, George Russell doubts Kimi Antonelli would need any sort of mentorship as a driver. Antonelli is a leading candidate to succeed Lewis Hamilton in the vacant Mercedes seat for 2025, as the 7-time F1 world champion departs Brackley to join Ferrari. Antonelli, who currently lies 6th in the Formula 2 championship in his first campaign in the junior category, has been strongly linked with the seat alongside the already confirmed George Russell for 2025. Speculation from some German media outlets has already placed Antonelli in the second seat, although PlanetF1.com understands no final decision has yet been made with regard to the vacant seat. But, with Antonelli certainly a leading contender, George Russell spoke about the possibility of being teammates with the Italian in his rookie season in 2025 as he spoke to media in Canada. Asked whether he'd be willing to act in a mentorship-type role for Antonelli as the young driver finds his feet in F1, Russell said he doubted whether his potential teammate would need any help. "I don't necessarily think a driver, an extremely talented driver, would need mentoring by another driver," Russell said. "I think you've got to find your own path. You got to make your own mistakes. I'd be more than happy to give advice and help along the way. I feel confident and I want the best for the team." Russell pointed out that whoever Mercedes plumps for to replace the departing Hamilton, he is hopeful that that person will be able to push him to raise his game in a similar fashion to the 7-time F1 world champion. "I think history has proven if you want to fight for a championship, you need to have a teammate alongside you who's pushing you along the way to get more out of yourself and also help when you're battling at the front," he said. "You've seen it's difficult in the past when there has been a lone ranger up front battling against 2 cars. They've got the upper hand strategically. So I think whoever's going to end up alongside me next year is going to keep me on my toes. I'm excited about that change. I've been kept on my toes for the last 3 years with Lewis as my teammate, but I think change is really exciting." While Russell has no problem lending Antonelli a helping hand if the situation arises, another potential rookie driver certainly won't be able to turn to his teammate for help. Kevin Magnussen, who is hopeful of retaining his seat with Haas in 2025, as the American team is yet to confirm its lineup for next season, could end up paired with Oliver Bearman. The young British driver, having impressed during his stand-in appearance for Carlos Sainz at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Recent reports have suggested Bearman to Haas is already a done deal, although PlanetF1.com understands this suggestion to be premature as contract negotiations continue. But should Magnussen and Bearman end up as teammates, Magnussen has made it clear he's not interested in giving Bearman a hand. "I'm not really here to take care of young kids, you know? I do that at home," Magnussen said. So, hopefully, the guy we have in the car will be competent, professional, and consistent like Nico Hülkenberg has been, and we'll see if I'll be in the other car. Daniel Ricciardo is still determined to pursue his goal of finishing his F1 career with Red Bull, even though Sergio Perez has signed a new contract until the end of the F1 2026 season. Ricciardo has been open about his desire to return to Red Bull Racing, the team with which he achieved all but one of his 8 career victories between 2014 and 2018, since he came back to the grid in mid-2023. The Australian has faced challenges in regaining his previous form since his return, especially after sustaining a broken hand at last year's Dutch Grand Prix. His inconsistent performance in F1 2024 dashed his hopes of replacing Perez in the near future. Red Bull announced before the Canadian Grand Prix that Perez has agreed to a new 2-year contract, keeping him with the Milton Keynes-based team until the end of F1 2026. Just before qualifying in Montreal, it was confirmed that Yuki Tsunoda will continue with the RB Junior team for F1 2025, potentially setting up a competition for the second seat between Ricciardo and Red Bull's highly regarded reserve driver Liam Lawson. Ricciardo has acknowledged that his own results have not been strong enough to warrant a return to Red Bull's main team, particularly after struggling to follow up his 4th-place finish in the Miami sprint race. However, despite turning 35 next month, he contends that Perez's extension does not signify the end of his prospects of returning to Red Bull. He told reporters in Canada, "I don't think it means anything like that's it in terms of my prospects. I don't see it as, oh, maybe I won't get a chance. On a personal level, I had one fantastic result in Miami, but the rest of my season has not been up to my expectations. I want my season to improve to increase my chances. I also have a realistic outlook. I feel like I still want progress to happen faster, but I do believe that we are making strides, and I still think I can turn it around and perform better moving forward to be competitive. And of course, if I'm still here next year, that will also make me happy." When asked if his focus now is on retaining his RB seat for F1 2025, he responded, "Definitely. That was already where my head was at because I knew Miami was good, but I haven't really done enough to really stand out. I'm just trying to improve, and that's it." Truthfully, my mindset hasn't changed. We're not halfway through the season yet, but we're quite far into it now, and I've had one result that I was really pleased with, and then others that were perhaps less so. I hold myself accountable for not achieving anything particularly remarkable. And when you're aiming for a top spot, you need to be doing some extraordinary things. I think that's why I say I don't think it means it will never happen. It's still a place I'd love to finish my career. But obviously now in the short term, that's not going to happen. So mindset-wise, that was still an end goal, but right now I'm here and stated that I need to do well and get some more points, and I'm happy doing that here. I think the team is doing a good job to assist me with that, so it's up to me. Ricciardo is insistent that his innate speed has not decreased, but he acknowledges that he needs to improve his consistency, as he had to wait until Canada to score his first points in a Grand Prix this season. He added, "More right pedal, less left. I know I still have the speed, so that's not really a concern. But it's really about week in, week out. I think that's where I've perhaps just had to work a little too hard to strive for that consistency at the moment. Since Monaco, I took a good look at myself and tried to address it. I don't think I need to completely change everything, but it's about making 1 or 2 adjustments here and there to give me that extra edge to make a weekend smoother and then maintain that momentum going." Thanks for watching the video, everyone. See you in the next one.